Welcome, everybody. This welcome. This is Dr. Rao. Starting my room. We've been doing this. How is it living spiritually? Do we have to get on the top of the roof and do the propaganda, or just live it, and then hopefully that will touch somebody? Uh, in that vein, I was doing like 6 or 7 principles that I made a movie into, and then I broke each one into a different movie. Each one only a few minutes, actually, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, like that. I did post the last one on this house in Clubhouse, but I'm going to put it on the top on the Clubhouse too. Anybody wants, they can go to my YouTube channel. They can watch it there too. I think it's not completely set up there, but I will see that it is set up, and then all these videos will appear there too. So I was always influenced by teachers who said, "We are not your teacher." What does it mean? It means that they are not there saying that we know the truth and we're going to give it to you. They say you got to find it yourself, but we can show you the path or throw the light on the path, but you got to go and look at it. And then it becomes your own property, your own finding, your own truth that you could follow without being a slave to anybody. That's, I think, what I like. And so this is an attempt to just share some truth that came to my life, and then kind of helped me to be joyful and present, and also really appreciate human life, right? So I don't think you need money for that, but you need inquisitiveness, inquiry, and then discovering them by ourselves with our own intelligence. So it's not out there in the books, out there in the teachings and all. It is within us if only we explore. So in that vein, I was titling this, what is living spirituality? And can anybody transmit spirituality to us, or we can only get to that by ourselves, and then by living it, we could really communicate to other people, not by, may not be able to transmit it, but at least be a symbol of what it could be like. The one of the things for me very important as a physician from the beginning was to have compassion for my patients, right? So if you don't have that, we don't really treat the patients with the same fervor that otherwise we do, right? It was fashion in medical school not to react emotionally to the patients. But I'm talking about having compassion. That means you're not being sentimental, but you are being kind and considerate, and really having a feeling with a fellow human being suffering. So you want to help. It's as simple as that. I don't think that's a big virtue, but that was there. Maybe brought up by a mother who is heartful and who is very kind and considerate to everybody. That could have done me, and I don't wanted to do that heartfulness, right? And not only compassion, but also having some empathy. This depends upon your emotional intelligence, right? The more we have the emotional intelligence, the more we can feel how the other person is feeling. That's empathy, right? That was kind of very missing in a lot of medical professionals, and in the mid 80s and 90s, they kind of worked a lot to improve that in the medical schooling by incorporating humanities, morals, and all these things. Not like a research system, but just as a human being. Because a lot of patients were really fed up with a few minutes of impersonal talk, and also sometimes not even looking at them, but then looking at the EMR and not having that human connection. Patients were frustrated, and also disappointed too. They are going there with some suffering at the time. It could be severe cough, it could be high fever, or it could be some cancer, something serious illness, right? Once they go there, they want some empathy from the physicians, right? So that's why that has to be examined very seriously by the medical profession. And then we started giving humanities lectures for the people so they will understand some of these final points and develop these soft skills so that patients will be served better. That was the aim of that, right? So I was very familiar with this from the beginning of it. One of the things that they liked about the doctors coming from overseas was most of them have come from societies where the money is not that big deal, but they were able to go by with the consideration for the other human being, right? India was one of them too. They don't have money, but they have a lot of human capital in the sense of interest in you, empathy for your troubles, for your feelings, and also kindness. If you are struggling, there are many people that they show kindness there too. So that kind of thing was good. And we were taught to diagnose by taking history and taking physical examination seriously, right? So we were actually touching the patient, we were actually examining the patient, we were talking with the patient, we were taking a lot of history about their family and everything. That made them feel more close because we know more about them with that. Okay, so that history taking and physical examination are becoming like a rare art because now the EMR will take all that is needed. Even the people who must see the patient with the virus, they establish all of that. And once that EMR is done, that will stay there. So it's not like a person to person talking and then taking details from this patient. That was an art that we had at that time, right? So all these things made us stay with the patient for a while, talk to them, examine them, and then explain to them and all that. That made them really like physicians like that who are taking time to spend. So that's the kind of compassion, and if you have some kind of empathy, then you can do that much better. So that's how this whole thing has evolved too. Now, I'm only talking as a physician, but I think this is applicable to any particular profession, right? There are some various aspects we explore in that video. First thing is listen. Listen to the anybody that is a customer of yours. Listen actively. What does it mean actively? Because you are not listening because you are threatened or you are supposed to do. No, you are actively listening by taking interest into what's going on with other person, right? So you have to pay close attention to what they are saying and try to understand their emotions and perspectives. That's what is important, right? This will help anybody to connect at a deeper level and show that we are genuinely interested in them just by act of simple listening, that is active, active in the sense of taking interest in other person. Okay, that's the very first thing. Even if you go to deeper spiritual practices, where if you are uh, on the journey of discovering truth of any matter, especially life's universal truths, first you got to listen what is being conveyed in a book or conveyed to you personally or conveyed to you through the universe, right? You could listen to the nature and learn a lot. So first actively listen, take interest and then listen. So that's what it is. Second thing is you got to be in the present, which is my mantra all the time, right? Be in the present, be in the present. It solves so many problems, and also it qualifies our attention to whatever we are doing, right? That way we can be with what is going on. So be present is very important to convey our compassion, to convey our empathy that we feel for the other person, right? And then of course, we have to offer support. We have to not only acknowledge what they are going through, but also tell them the ways that you could help, tell them the way that you could guide them, tell them the way that various options are there. So many ways we can really support people emotionally and intellectually, and also some people are not very clever, very bright, so they may not know what to do. By showing them some kind of way that we can support them too. And of course, always practicing empathy. That means, first of all, not your feelings, but the other person feelings, what they are going through, what is it like, that kind of attention would really help them a lot. you know of course, you want to be non-judgmental. You don't want to be judging them from your whatever standards you have. If you don't have this non-judgment as a whole, they'll be very happy. And then if you are sharing your own experiences, that will increase their confidence in you, your trust in you much better. Okay, so these are the seven principles or six principles that we have discussed in that video. But basically, very simple. Just be in the present, be actively listening, and then offering support, offering ways of comfort, and also really empathize with them. Now, all you have to show them that you are empathizing. They can feel. Suppose you feel the pain and you get put a hand on the shoulder and then kind of give support. That conveys a lot, right? This happens with our patients quite a bit, because if I go and then sit next to them in their bed at the edge of the bed, they feel so much comfortable. Hold their hand or put their hand on their shoulder, something like that. They are very, very happy. And also they feel comfortable. Actually, touching the patients was very important. But these days, people are losing that. That's why I'm emphasizing that. So part of our living spirituality and transmitting spirituality mean living spirituality in this way. This is we talked about self-awareness. We talked about general benefits of self-awareness. Now we are talking about having compassion and empathy to whoever we are doing. Any customer, any life partner, anybody comes in. If you can display these qualities of compassion for them and also empathy for what they are feeling, if you can have that, it all depends on the emotional intelligence, right? So people may be very intelligent IQ wise, but they may not have a foggiest idea about what it is to be emotionally intelligent. Basically, try to feel other person's pain. Once you have that, then everything empathy will develop. It deepen actually as you go along. And the more you take interest in the suffering, not only immediate suffering, but also general suffering, humanity as a whole, animals as a whole, suffering as a whole, then you have to look for that. People have looked for that answers, and there are so many ways that they have approached and they provided answers. All we have to do is take away our own ignorance of that and then explore these things truthfully. Then we will find those answers too. And once you have went into depth of the suffering and people are suffering, it will be automatic to show compassion. It will automatic to empathize with whoever comes to you with suffering. And then they go with some kind of solution or complete relief of suffering. It depends upon how skilled we are, how much we can handle all. But then, if you are following spirituality, not materialistic transactional relationship, then these things make sense, right? You can do the business, but at the same time, look for the comfort of the customer, look for the real ease of business with that, so they can feel really well treated and well respected. All those things are really good for your business also. So you feel good also because you are showing them some empathy, some compassion, some kindness, right? So one of the things I promote all the time with my whoever comes to me for the burnout coaching and all that, I ask them, do one random act of kindness. Just be kind to somebody you may not know. That's a very practical thing to do. It could be like somebody is carrying a lot of weight and you go and relieve some weight for them and carry that. Or it could be crossing the street, you help them. Or it could be somebody in trouble, need a lot of money, you can do a little bit of money that you have or that you can afford to share, that kind of. Uh, any situation, if you look around, there will be a situation where you can show this random act of kindness. Make it a practice every day to look for the opportunities and also to execute your kindness. But you don't have to be artificial about it. You really have to be heartfully approach without expecting anything in return, and then just help them. So suppose somebody comes to me for consultation and all that, I just take them and then I will talk to them. I will kind of provide answers, but also extra friendly, extra sympathetic. That is not something that you need to buy. You just have to bring it out from the heart. So just be present and heartful and be kind. If you can do that, I think there itself we are living the spirituality we were talking about. That kind of spirituality is kind of transmitted to them without us making any effort. All we are doing is be ourselves in that spiritual mode, and then that will transmit to them automatically. Okay, so this is something I hope it makes sense to a lot of people, because a lot of people are like this, but then they get occupied with their own troubles, or they get occupied by their own thoughts, and they don't really bring their personality out. Even if you are having a lot of problems in the situation, but if you can show some kindness to somebody else, your pain will go down. Experiment with it, and I'm sure you know about this. A lot of people do that. There was a Hindi song at one time I heard. It says, "If you become helpless, try to be helpful to somebody else. You find help for yourself automatically." This was a movie actually. In that movie, there are two heroes. One hero is a writer. Other one is like a singer, right? The writer friend, he kind of doesn't get the success. He is really struggling, and at one day he wants to go commit himself, die in the river. So he wants to jump in. But then suddenly he listens to the song. The song says, if you are become helpless, be helpful to somebody else, then you will get help automatically. And that song was written by this guy who was trying to commit suicide. And the moment he listens to the song, he remembers everything, and then he kind of wakes up and then comes out of it. But the way it was, the song was constructed, the song was played, that was very telling on me. This I saw in maybe in 70s probably, but I remembered that song. I remembered that message and all that. So if you become helpless for anything, then you also find a way to help somebody else. Not necessarily we have to do all the time. Sometimes we'll be having those. So if you can do in such times, how can you do when you are not really having problems, but you are empathetic to somebody else's problems, and then you're trying to reach them out? Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. That's a very valuable thing. So this random act of kindness, and kind when you are down to somebody else, those kind of two things I think you will do. And then be present, really listen actively, all those things that we talked about earlier. Okay, so anybody has any questions, you can come up and ask me. But this video is there. You can always look it up. And then we will see you again tomorrow with another aspect of this, and then we'll be able to discuss more on another aspect of this living spirituality principles, like a 6 or 7 of that. I think we are done up to 3 now, and so we'll do 4 more in the next 4 days. And then we will go from there. Okay. All right. So we'll make this room short today, and then I think I already talked about what I wanted to say. But if you have any questions, you come up. Otherwise, I'll close down the room now. Okay. Okay. All right. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you back tomorrow.